All right, everybody, welcome back. Today, we're diving deep into the world of counterterrorism.
A world, I have to say, most people don't get to see.
Yeah, exactly. Luckily for us, we have experts out there like Roberto Toncig, who was kind enough to do an interview.
Oh, fantastic interview.
Yeah, it really is. He actually went through the Certified Counterterrorism Practitioner course.
The CCTP.
The CCTP, yeah.
Gives you a really good look, I think, at how to approach this from a professional standpoint.
Absolutely. And one thing that really struck me was that he really emphasizes this idea of a holistic approach to security.
Yeah, it's not just about, putting up a fence and calling it a day.
Right.
It's about thinking about all the different layers, all the different aspects, and how they all work together.
And Toncig, he really gets into the weeds on this, right? He talks about how he actually applies this in his work.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he had this anecdote about working on a security setup.
Oh, yeah, where he completely disagreed with his colleague.
Exactly. But, and this is where the CCTP comes in, because he had that training, he was able to present a well-argued alternative.
Even though his colleague had, a really strong opinion on how it should be done.
Right. But because Toncig was able to back up his approach with, the knowledge he gained from the CCTP.
He was able to say, well, actually, there's a better way to do this.
And that's the thing, when it comes to security, having the right knowledge can literally be the difference between, a safe environment and a vulnerable one.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think one of the key things here is this concept of security by design, which he keeps bringing up.
Right. And the idea there is that you integrate security from the very beginning.
Like when you're designing a building, for instance. He has some really cool examples in the interview about architectural choices.
Yeah. Simple things, actually.
Yeah, it's not about, lasers and all kinds of crazy stuff.
No, not at all.
It's things like the placement of windows.
Yeah, or even landscaping, how you use the space around the building to create natural barriers. And this is what I love, because it's stuff that's not necessarily expensive.
Right, you don't have to break the bank to make a place more secure.
Exactly. And a lot of it is just common sense, but it's, having that framework, having that knowledge, that allows you to apply common sense in a really effective way.
And this is where I think his holistic approach really comes into play, because he's looking at the big picture.
Right.
He's not just focused on one little aspect of security.
Yeah, he's thinking about everything from physical barriers to human behavior. How people move through a space, how they interact with their environment.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because to me, that sounds incredibly complex. How do you actually wrap your head around all of that?
Well, that's what's so valuable about the CCTP training. It provides a framework. It gives you a way to think about all these different factors in a systematic way.
So you're not just overwhelmed by the sheer amount of information.
Exactly. And Toncig also mentioned another course he took.
Yeah, the PHIQ.
Threat assessment through security questioning, which, kind of builds on that holistic approach.
Right.
It teaches you how to analyze behaviors, for potential threats.
So it's not just about looking for, suspicious objects or anything like that.
Right.
You're also paying attention to how people are acting, what they're saying, those kinds of things.
Exactly. And it's all about asking the right questions. Not just gathering information, but really understanding what's going on beneath the surface.
So in a way, it's kind of like being a detective.
Right.
You're piecing together clues.
In a way, yeah. And I think, the combination of those two courses, the CCTP and the TICE-Q, is really powerful.
Gives you both the broad knowledge and the specific skills.
Right. You have the theory, you have the framework, but you also have the tools to go out there and actually assess and mitigate threats.
It's like you said, having the toolkit and knowing exactly which tool to use in a given situation.
Precisely.
And, I was really struck by how strongly Toncig recommended these courses to other security professionals.
Oh, yeah. He was very passionate about that.
It seemed like it really had a profound impact on his career.
Yeah, and I think one of the things he really emphasized was that it's not just about getting a certificate.
It's about becoming part of this niche of excellence, as he called it.
Right. It's about constantly learning, constantly improving, and being part of a community of professionals who are all dedicated to that same high standard.
So yeah, it's a real commitment, not just a one-time thing.
No, it's an ongoing journey.
And I think one of the things that really stood out to me was his emphasis on the practical application of the knowledge.
Yeah. This isn't just theoretical stuff. It's stuff you can use right away.
In the real world. He gave all sorts of examples of how he's used this knowledge to solve problems, make places safer, and really make a difference.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so valuable. It's not just knowledge for the sake of knowledge. It's knowledge that you can actually use to make the world a better place.
Okay. So we've talked about a lot here. We've covered this idea of a holistic approach to security. We've explored the specifics of the CCTP and the Task U training. And we've heard from Toncig about how he's actually put all of this into practice in his work.
We really have.
But here's like a final thought for our listeners to chew on.
Okay, go for it.
If this security by design can be so effective in, professional settings,
Yeah.
could we apply it in our everyday lives too?
Oh, that's interesting.
Could we integrate these principles into our homes, our communities, our daily routines, and maybe, create a more aware and secure environment for everyone?
It's a really thought-provoking question. It makes you think about, how much we take our security for granted sometimes.
Yeah.
And how maybe just by being a little more mindful, a little more aware of our surroundings, we could actually make a big difference.
Exactly. All right, well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And stay safe out